What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We are into week 2 of the July International, so we're going to be doing another preview video. This one is going to be Ireland versus the USA. This could actually be a lot tighter than a lot of people are anticipating, so there's going to be a lot to talk about here. For anyone who hasn't seen the preview videos, what we do is we chuck on a game in the background playing as the teams that are actually playing in real life, and then we go through the official teams announced, who we think is going to do well, who we think could improve, and finally we're going to give a score prediction for the actual game on what's going to happen. We always tend to play as the lower rated team, so I'm going to play as the USA in this game, make the game a bit more interesting in the background. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's get this game kicked off and underway. Alright, McGinty's going to get us kicked off and underway in this USA game. We'll mix it up. We're going to kick left just to just to shake it up a bit. I always feel like I go right in these games when I do my kickoffs. So, Ireland versus the USA. A lot of people have got this one pinned down as just a straight out Ireland win. However, the USA really showing off their sort of increase in ability that we got to see in the England game. USA are no longer this sort of tier 2 nation just desperate to score a try. They've definitely moved into the world of looking competitive. That England team really struggled to keep the USA down when they needed to. The defensive work from the USA trying to hold out the best it can. Still a few holes to work through, but they are getting better, and the attack from them, they still scored a huge amount of points against an England team that is, you know, at relatively high standards, so they'll be looking to try and use that as a bit of momentum going through to this Ireland game. Meanwhile, Ireland bringing an enormous team into that Japan game and sort of barely scraping by on the win there. There was only about 7 points or something, I think, in the end of that Ireland-Japan game, as we see the USA go for the first try here. I don't know if that'll happen in the official game, but hopefully they can hope the USA get off to a good start like this. The Ireland team certainly had a couple of issues going on in that Japan game. A little rusty, maybe. Probably their first game back since we've seen them in the Six Nations. Japan having their sort of warm-up game almost for this July series against the Lions, and played well against the Lions and played well against Ireland, to be fair. A lot of people thought it might have been a bit of an Ireland walkover. I did see scores like 20-odd points people expected Ireland to win by. I called it, I think, at 10, and it ended up being something like 7. So Ireland still got a lot of it to actually improve on going into this game. They'll want to use this game to test out some new movements and some new set plays, probably, because I would probably say Japan are probably a bit better in terms of overall team play than the USA. However, the USA are now getting up there in terms of the MLR, getting their own team together and working pretty well together. So let's start off talking about the Ireland team, because the Ireland, there's a lot more to cover on the Ireland team for me, really. So Ireland will be looking to improve on that Japan game. Aggressive and score points were not sort of rare in that Japan game, but they certainly played well. With their defensive element, they certainly let Japan rattle them a few times just by being aggressive and running with the ball in hand. The crash balls, Ireland certainly struggled to deal with them a little bit. So we'll check out the team they've gone for. As McGinty went for a drop goal and didn't quite get near that one. So let's check out the front row here. So there's been a little switch around here. Kilcoyne and Kelleher retaining their positions, but O'Toole coming in, making his debut in that front row. Now, the USA scrum against England was actually relatively good. They sort of got monstered more towards the end of the second half and so on, but for the first half they certainly held out. So O'Toole's going to have it up against him a little bit there. Looking at the locks, Ryan Baird and James Ryan. So again, a good combo duo here. James Ryan, yet again, with the penalties. Unfortunately for this Ireland team, their captain seems to be the biggest sort of culprit for penalties being given away. Jumping on people at the line out, not rolling away in a tackle is a big one for him. Hopefully that's a thing he can work on. I did mention in one of the Lions videos that I thought that might be the reason James Ryan would not get into the Lions team this year. He's playing good rugby, but the amount of penalties he does give away can really sack a team. Seeing them go from, you know, an attacking position in the 22 of the opponents all the way to being put back in your own 22 because of penalties. Oh, as Ireland go through here. Oh, I thought there was a potential try there. We managed to hold that one out. Ireland certainly on the attack in the game in the background here. But the locks department working well. The line out is one of the key areas for Ireland. They like to have a solid line out and try and use that as a platform to launch an attack. So two big jumpers here in Ryan Baird. Ryan Baird actually had a really good game in the Japan game. Actually had very little negative to say against Ryan Baird. But James Ryan also doing well. Keelan Doris taking over at 6. Timoni is someone I don't know, making his debut at 7. So big move there. And finally, Coombs in that 8th position. So mixing up this back row a bit again. They're definitely wanting to play around with the team a little bit here, knowing the USA probably not going to be quite as strong as the Japan team. Probably going to have a few more chances for these new boys to get a bit of game time in, show off a little bit what they can do. We haven't got people like, Van der Fleer and stuff on this team. So a lot of big names missing. A couple more lower cap people. Keelan Doris is a very good player. I'm looking forward to see how he gets on at number 6. Running play for Keelan Doris is getting much, much better. When he first came into the world of international rugby, we did see him playing well when he got on, but one of the few things for me from him was just watching him run with the ball. Wasn't not really looking for the offload, much more of a crash ball player, so hopefully he'll be looking to improve on that one. We are somehow at half-time. I don't know how this is getting on. We will quickly move on to the backs. Craig Casey coming in that 9 position. I like Craig Casey. Hopefully he can have a good game. Joey Carberry retaining that fly half role. So Billy Burns, hopefully, will be looking to get a look in here. I'm not sure why he's been pushed back so much. Maybe they just want Joey Carberry to get a bit more time in that international fly half jersey before Sexton makes his return. They want to find who's going to be the main second string for them once Sexton makes his return. There's one change in the centre partnership. McCloskey and Hume, I'm going to guess the pronunciation of that one. I don't know Hume a lot, making his debut. I'm not sure why the switch was done here. I can't think who played in the centre last week. I probably should have looked that up beforehand. McCloskey, though, very, very good player. Really like to see how he's getting on. That 12 position for him, really working well. Aki is playing well currently in the Lions. However, Henshaw with his hamstring injury, that could keep him out of the Lions for a little bit. There's opportunities for the 13 role to open up, so maybe this is a good chance for Hume to get in there. Quickly looking at this back 3, Andrew Conway coming in to the left wing, someone we haven't heard from a long time in this Ireland team, and he's a really good player. I really like Andrew Conway. More used to seeing him on the right wing than the left wing, so big call for him there. That might be because of Balakoon on the right wing again, a player I'm not super familiar with. A lot of these debutants actually surprising. I'm only really just looking through this Ireland team. There's a lot of people making their debut for this game. And finally in that fullback position, Keenan, which, he loves that fullback position. He can pretty much play any wing and fullback. Had a good game against Japan, so looking forward to seeing him get on. But this back 3 is going to be a little bit more experimental. People out of position, people making their debut. So the attack line from Ireland might switch up a bit here compared to their game against Japan, where it felt a little bit more solid. The forwards definitely needed a bit of work in the Japan game, but hopefully they can sort of gel together a little bit more. But with a lot of new players coming in and new uncapped players coming in, you certainly begin to see cracks show up in international teams, so it'll be interesting to see how they manage to deal with so many new players. This half has gone on for ages. I cannot get this ball over the try line. It's ridiculous. Well, we might as well talk about the subs, seeing as I can't get this half ended. So, checking out the subs. Heffernan and Byrne and Beelum. There is a good front row. Those 3 will be looking to make a big impact from the bench. We got to see in the England game how that USA team did begin to drop off towards that second half in terms of the scrummaging and the mauling, really. The clear-out's becoming a bit of an issue in the ruck. So having a good front row in that second half is obviously going to be a big, impactful part of this game. So Ireland backing their bench here, looking for that second half. Look how many players I've got down in my bench, to be honest. I've got to make an awful lot of subs here. Looking further back, we have got 4 out of the 5 of the rest of this bench are all going to be making their debut at some point. So unfortunately, I'm not going to have a great deal to talk about here. Wycherley, Boyle, Blade, another Byrne. There's so many Byrnes in this Ireland team. It gets so hard to keep track of them. And finally, Addison in that 23 shirt. So it's an unexperienced bench. I'm going to be honest. This is going to be a big call here. They're definitely trying to move around this a little bit. They're going to hope this starting 15 can get a good few points on the board, because the USA do not give up. As we saw in that England game, they definitely went down a few points and they didn't let it overwhelm them. They did manage to fight back. They did manage to claw their way back. And in all honesty, what was it, about 14 points or something in that game against an England team which was expected to win by about 25 to 30 points. Looking at the betting and stuff, they were expected to win highly, and the USA really held out. This USA team is not afraid to attack, not afraid to utilise when players aren't in position and aren't, sort of game wary of what's happening around them. Having 4 uncapped players on the bench and 4 or 5 actually in the starting 15 could be a big risk here. I think Ireland could be pressed against this one a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how the team manages to gel, considering they felt a little rusty last week against Japan, and they're only a week later and have already made so many changes. There must be about 9 or 10 changes in this team, just by looking at it here. So will they be able to gel together and get on well? I've got a feeling the USA could actually feel a little bit confident going into this game, while I would maintain the Ireland team is probably stronger in terms of the sort of financial backing, the coaching staff behind them, a lot of the team players that are going to be in this team. I feel like the USA could really try and push for this one. So, speaking of the USA, as we are only 5 points up at 50 minutes, normally these games are a bit bigger scores, we will talk about the USA team for a bit. I've already talked a little bit about how they got on against that England team, but one thing that I want to point out is some of the players that play for the USA team really surprising me. The fly half that was playing last week was doing a really, really good game. The fullback, I'm going to forget his name now just off the top of my head, for the USA team, is looking very, very good. Hopefully he will be able to, you know, give that as a big impactful move to the rest of the team to try and push for this USA team to try and bounce forward and keep moving. But in order to do that, we need to, of course, check out the USA team that's going to be playing this big mix-up Ireland team. So we will chuck the team on screen for you guys to check out. And there's not a great deal of news to talk about with this team. There's only been 4 changes from that game that played the England team. One of which being the fullback. I can't think what the guy's name was now. He's been replaced by Mike Teo, who I believe was on the wing for the last game. He's going to move into that fullback because of a HIA issue. Unfortunately, of course, they don't have the best graphics for the USA team, which is a shame. But a couple of people in there that were very, very impressive in that England game. Cam Dolan having a really good game. Really looking forward to see more from him in that USA team. Absolutely, you know, bolstering that USA team. Really, really nice. Luke Carty was playing well, and Bryce Campbell, the captain, will of course be going in that centre channel. So pretty much going to be the same USA team, which is nice. They're going to have gelled together well. There's not too many subs, which I think is useful when you're going into playing these sort of main tier 1 nations. You've just beaten in England, or you just played in England that wasn't at full strength. You're now going on to play in Ireland. Maybe not a full strength Ireland, but still a strong Ireland nonetheless. You're going to want to have a couple of decent players here. In fact, Kelvin Whiting, Christian Dyer. There was a couple of really good people standing out here in this USA team, so I'm really looking forward to see how they get on. We'll quickly flick over to the replacements. There's only been a couple of changes here. A couple of people mainly coming in because a lot of the players that has moved into that starting 15 that played England have now had to just be replaced on the bench as well. So Will Maggie or Will Maggie, I'm not sure, is going to come in on that 23 shirt as a brand new person. And Dino Waldron was in the last game because I remember having a fantastic name. Matt Harmon will come on in that second half. Sam Wooching, that's a cool name. Looking forward to seeing him get on the field. So unfortunately my knowledge of the USA team isn't going to be super extensive as it was last week, unfortunately. But it's nice to see the team will be more cohesive probably now. They've got to play the big game against England. They'll go on to play another big game against Ireland here. So what do we think in terms of a score prediction? Now, this, although it's an Ireland team, it's not the strongest Ireland team there could be. I imagine the first half will be probably won by Ireland, but I wouldn't be surprised if the second half actually gets won by the USA in terms of points scored. As soon as a lot of those new boys coming on from the bench for that Ireland team, they're going to have to work very hard to try and keep up to the standards that this USA team is going to play with. They're not being put down by having scores conceded. They're going to keep going out there trying to score themselves, which would be nice to see. I'm still going to go for an Ireland win, as we see someone order. It's nearly a try right to the end. We're going to try and hang on here for a 5-0 win. I'm going to call an Ireland win. For me, I'm going to say Ireland to win. I think they'll actually do better than England. I think the team Ireland have. I'm going to say Ireland to win by 21. Is going to be my call. I think they'll work more on their defensive side, and then a couple of those flyers will look for tries along the way. But what do you guys think? Make sure you drop it down in the comments who you think's going to win, who you think's going to stand out, who you think's going to do brilliantly and score all the tries, or whether you just think the USA are going to hammer Ireland. Who knows what people are thinking. Of course, we are doing these for all of the round 2 games, guys, or whatever games are left due to cancellation stuff. So make sure you subscribe to the channel just to keep up to date with all the videos as they come out. I hope you all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye bye.